Birria tacos. These beauties are basically a cross between a taco and a grilled cheese. Crispy, cheesy, dunked in a rich broth. What's not to love? But here's the thing, I do mine a little differently. According to Google, and actual Mexican history, birria is traditionally made with lamb or goat, slowly cooked in a rich, spicy broth. We're talking dried chilies, cumin, oregano, cinnamon, garlic, big, bold flavors. The meat is then shredded and served in a tortilla, usually dipped in consomme, aka that flavorful braising liquid. The first time I saw these bad boys, it was in a video online. And before I even knew what a real birria taco was, I made my own version. So are these traditional birria tacos? Absolutely not. Are they a twist on birria tacos? 100%. The real question is it worth braising my own beef for hours when I could just throw some ground beef in a pan and call it a day? Let's break it down. First up, the meat. Chuck roast. Packed with fat and connective tissue that breaks down into something insanely tender. Traditionally, birria is made with goat, but I'm using beef because, well, chuck is delicious. I'm a culinary badass who does what he wants, but mainly because my local grocery store didn't have a quality cut of goat or lamb. Next, something not traditional. Smoked tomatoes. A bold move. Will they add depth to the broth, or will I completely ruin the flavors I'm going for? And then there's the tortilla debate. I love flour tortillas for this. They soak up the broth, hold everything together better, and honestly, they just taste amazing. And since it's my kitchen, I do what I want, breaking tradition with flour tortillas. But since my wife wants corn tortillas, well, I also do what she wants, so I'm making both. Traditionally, birria tacos are served simply. Maybe some onions, radish, cilantro, and a squeeze of lime. But me, I'm going full-on Tex-Mex with sour cream, pico de gallo, and guacamole. Definitely not traditional. What could go wrong? Alright, let's get cooking. We start with the holy trinity of broth building. Carrots, onions, and celery, better known as mirepoix. No need for fancy cuts here. We're straining these out later anyways. For beef, I break down the chuck into smaller chunks for that better sear. Try saying that 10 times fast. Chuck into smaller chunks. Season it generously with salt and pepper. Get your pan ripping hot, add oil, sear that beef like your life depends on it. That deep brown crust, that's where all the flavor lives. After searing, we toss in the veggies. We're not caramelizing, we're just softening them up to get a little color. Then we hit it with the garlic because, of course, oregano, cumin, and cinnamon, warming spices to build that deep layered flavor. Adding them in at this stage helps the spices bloom, which releases their flavors. Tomato paste, adding richness and umami. Fire roasted tomatoes, another twist, a little smoky and a little sweet. Now, return the chuck back to the pan. Then comes the liquid, beef stock and dried peppers, seeds removed, of course, for that subtle heat and earthiness. Put the lid on and set for 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius, and we braise for about 2.5 hours or until the meat is fall apart tender. Once the meat is done, I shred it while it's still hot. If you let it cool too much, it's just a pain to pull apart. Now, most recipes strain the broth to make it a consomme, but I'm unconventional. I blend some of it, giving me something between consomme and tomato soup, which makes sense since I started this whole video by calling this a mix between tacos and grilled cheese. Now for the fun part. I take my tortilla, flour or corn, your choice, dip it straight into that rich, flavorful broth, and toss it onto the griddle. Then, Oaxaca cheese, super melty, kind of like mozzarella, a heaping pile of the shredded beef, and more cheese, because why not? Fold it over and let it crisp up. A little bit of that cheese oozes out and gets all crispy on the pan, but keep it. That's gold. That's the texture and that's the flavor right there. And the final step, and the moment of truth, dip the taco into that rich, tomatoey, smoky broth. It's time to see if my non-traditional twist on Birria worked. Or did I just disrespect an entire cultural dish? Only one way to find out. Yep, 1000% worth it. As always, thanks for watching to the end. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out my Korean barbecue drumsticks, which is linked here at the end. I'll see you in the next one.